to the fall of the Roman Empire, but it was one of the signs.
Did I not get the email about matching our colors today to be green along with the
The first
market?
thing I said, I was like, man, why are you wearing a green shirt, man? People could think we can fucking coordinate this shit. But it really wasn't. I was just there. I was going to grab the next clean white shirt. And I was like, no, let me go green today. Mix it up a little bit. Boom.
I texted Carlos privately. I was like, bro, green. Just do it. Just do it.
Hold on. Yeah, no.
So the Roman Empire, huh? Spend a lot of time thinking about that.
I do, actually. That's been a trend lately. Have you seen that on X?
Yeah.
People asking, like, do you think about the Roman Empire? I'm like, all the fucking time.
I mean, I think about it at least once or twice a week, just based on, what they say, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. So a lot of times you see the fall of societies and cultures and empires, and they have a very similar trajectory where, it's very similar to how like families end up, where there's like the first generation that just toils, and then the second generation carries that forward, and then third generation, because of all the comfort, comes and just wipes all the stuff out. So it's kind of like, so it kind of feels like that sometimes with the US, where like post World War II we had like the greatest economies, and then after that, like, with all the developments around technology, the US went even more forward, and now we're regressing back to like this cultural weirdness where, we can't agree on anything. We all hate each other. The politicians are pretty much in the pockets of, special interests, whether that be a political special interest or the financial special interest. So there's a lot of similarities to where we are today, and like the things that really put the Roman Empire on in its course to decline.
No one in the chat believes it, but it's true. How many guys? I mean, maybe.
Bro, all I do is think about Rome and Caesar.
Okay, so you're trolling. Day. You're trolling, but I think
no, I'm not. But my whole day is reading about this shit. Like,
I'm actually being serious, because you see the sign. They try to placate the masses. They give you just enough that you can live, like, whatever their version of stimulus was. They give you just enough food. They give you just enough. Then they distract you with entertainment, football, gladiator fights, whatever it was.
So Amit,
you don't realize what's happening in the background.
What do you think was the downfall of Rome? Like, what caused it?
Basically Rome getting too complacent, thinking they were always going to be the best, and then
expanding the empire too far.
Yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, based on like reading, there's a couple of things that really brought the Roman Empire down. I think the first thing was, of course, you had you guys are correct in that Rome spread itself a little too far. The problem that I feel that happened was the idea of Rome, because they spread too far too fast, ended up getting diluted. So the core things that made the country or the empire great in the first place, they started to go, downhill. And I think that's the key, right? With a lot of empires and a lot of things where you expand way beyond the amount that's required. And if you do it at a pace that there isn't as much assimilation, that's the issue. Like, American values are what has built this country and this economy to where it is today. And the thing is, like, the more we let people into the country, but at the same time not let them get a chance to actually assimilate, you're going to have this whole, like, what is this word? Like, it's this whole thing with like divisiveness. And it's the same thing with like
delusion. Delusion is the right word. Delusion. You talk about that a lot when you say, when we talk about the population, how immigration is the only reason why our population hasn't collapsed as much as it has. That's sort of a band-aid on the problem. Like, Americans that were born here and raised here need to have American babies. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying that.
I have no problem with immigration as long as it's done in a controlled manner. But at the same time, people are actually assimilating into the culture. Like, the last thing you want to do is let communities form that have backward thinking from the old country and let them become like the standard here. Like, here's an example. Like, some Middle Eastern countries, like, it's frowned upon to be gay, and like, you should be stoned to death. Now imagine there's a huge community that comes here, and we give them so much autocracy in their specific region that now all the determining factors in that region end up being that, hey, that one group controls that specific region, and now they're able to dictate how things roll in that region, and then that's kind of spreads, and
the importing of the culture instead of
but do you think the probability of in a free country like the United States that something as atrocious as like killing a kid or something spreading is possible in this current?
Yeah, I think so.
Possible?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you look at certain countries in France, and it's like they've become so tolerant that there was a really good quote about tolerance. It's like and it's something that was said like a long time ago, like the death is like when you become so tolerant that you become tolerant against like the worst things. Like look at San Francisco, look at sometimes New York City. We've become so tolerant to thievery that it just becomes a norm. And now it's like, oh, we don't need to worry about that. It's okay. Insurance covers it. And now it's just kind of like second nature. And so that is what results in societal collapse, where you just keep accepting all the stuff, and the evil parts of society keep pushing that, and it keeps pushing it to the degree that it lets the country become like a lawless country without any of the protections. Like I would say right now, when I look back in my childhood, I grew up in a neighborhood, I knew all my neighbors, like we all knew each other. We grew up together. We had a great time. And I don't necessarily see that same thing now. Like, I don't even know my neighbors, like what my neighbors' names are across the hall. It's just kind of sad.
Same.
I know. Yeah. We know very few people that live on our block. I mean, I know some of them by face, like they'll know me, but I do not feel that same sense of community, nor would I feel as safe letting my kid run around and hang out on the streets the way that my parents did with us as kids. We know like one like girl who's at the end of the block. She's like 6, and she plays with my daughter sometimes, but like, yeah, it's definitely not the same out there.
Yeah, like the United States is de facto the Roman Empire right now, but
Absolutely.
if it collapses, then it'll be tough. Let's move on to the big news today. Strikers. Dude. Carlos, you're in this industry.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when it dropped last night that the strike is over for the writers, at least?
Over for I was reading more into that in the little bit of time that I had to be awake before I hopped on here, and it looks like the picketing has stopped, that they have reached a tentative agreement, but they are rushing to get to the table to actually draft the final contract language. If you want, I'll read some of this article that I sent you yesterday. All right, let's just make it official. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
The Writers Guild has reached a tentative agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers to end its strike after nearly 5 months. The parties finalized the framework of the deal Sunday when they were able to untangle their stalemate over AI and writing room staffing levels. They reached a tentative agreement. We reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement principle on all deal points subject to drafting the final contract. There's a party about picketing. Next steps in the process will see the Ellen Stutzman-led WGA negotiating committee vote on whether to recommend the agreement and send it to the WGA board and WGAE council for approval, in votes tentatively scheduled for Tuesday. So that'll be tomorrow. The Guild said another vote by the respective board and council could lift the strike's restraining order and allow scribes to return to work during the ratification vote. A big deal for both WGA and the studios.
This is good, right? This definitely isn't bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. I wanted to learn a little bit more from the behind the scenes of what prompted this to happen so quickly. So when I get into the office tonight, I'm going to talk to some people that know, and I'm going to find out. But it does seem that the studios did not, although the studios were able to save a ton of money, that they did not have the creative runway that they thought they would. I mean, a lot of these studios have a lot of their programming that's already in post-production. They have the calendar set a few months in advance, but it would lead me to believe that the studios did not have enough new content already in the pipeline.
Yeah, as VITALY said, they were pushing Suits on us like hard.
What do you mean?
Right? Like Netflix was pushing Suits, which is such an old show.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Well, and Netflix has about a year, a year production timeline out there. And a lot of these shows, even if they greenlight it today, it takes a long time to produce, to write, produce, and edit a show. So they should have stuff in the pipeline. But what happens is if they wait to the end of that pipeline, you're looking at a year and a half drought. It could be before they would have any other. So maybe they were getting ahead of that. I don't know. But because the general consensus was that they were going to starve people out for the remainder of the year, let it go another 3 months, and also to record those losses on their books, right? So I was equally surprised, but I was also happy because two of the guys that I went out with the other night, they are also in the same business, and we were talking about that. Several of them had long gaps in the year without any work, and had basically eaten up into their savings. So this is really good news. Like, this is really good news, especially for someone like me. I'm in a sweet spot right now of employment that it would be fantastic to secure another job after this. And if it's anything like 2020, I'm going to be even busier than I am now. I was cranking away in 2020. Like, there was more work than people to do those jobs. And so the top people were able to handle 2 or 3 jobs at the same time. And that was a very good year for me, 2020. So I think that's all really good news.
I was going to go to Kris, but then yeah, we got the next guy in this industry. So Vitaly, what is your take on the strike kind of being over now?
Yeah, I think we talked about this. What was it, a month ago? I said this is going away for sure. I don't know if you remember that discussion. Everybody needs to get back to making content because it's a race. And so, Netflix doesn't want to pay these people, obviously. Amazon doesn't want to pay these people, but at the end of the day, you do need the writers. You need the actors. I think I don't know if I sent this tweet out, but these are the farmers. We all ignore the farmers until we have no food. You know what I mean? So this is what's going on. At some point, it all has to be settled. Actors are coming up soon too. This is all going away.
I'm curious what because it says that they agreed that the main sticking points were AI and writing staffing levels. So that's what I'm mostly curious about, how they were able to navigate around that, and then also what the studios are going to do.
Are the terms going to be open? Because
they will. What I heard today, and then we'll get Kris on this, is that studios agreed to not allow AI to not allow the writers' work to be trained for future uses of AI. But they only have 3 years until they renegotiate, so I'm sure that'll change. And the writers didn't get the minimum requirement of the number of people that had to be hired for a show. So both had to kind of push and pull on that perspective.
Yeah, it's always a give and take. It's never.
And it's
one
also
side doesn't always get what they want. That's
a lot of the writers wanted more time.
Yeah,
because they are only on payroll for a very short period of time of the year, and a lot of it is these residuals. So,
but they are getting residuals, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to get residuals. That's not going to.
I don't know what the terms of that look like, but there's no more Breaking Bad.
They have to
residuals,
right, and they have to get that data. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. Netflix.
They have to get that data from the streaming service, and they have to figure out how to monetize that to be at equivalent levels, because it's not the same. It's not as easy as it was when you were on cable TV and the show aired at a specific time. You just have to get that granular data. Here's the deal: those companies know it. Those companies have that data. That's one of the benefits of doing streaming, is you have very granular data on people's viewing habits.
That wasn't your take last time. You said it was impossible to get this data. No. We were saying that they have the data and it's easy to get it. They just don't want to share it.
No, I would never say that it's impossible to get it. I mean, I worked in advertising. That's what based a lot of the decisions that we, when we would look at, it's basically like the analytics, the YouTube analytics that we use to understand like what parts of the video are interesting to people. That same sort of data is what they have, but they had like a primitive version of that.
I mean, look, it's going to go into just like the TV world works right now, where they know, like with the Nielsen ratings, and they know exactly who's watching what in terms of like the viewership in general. Maybe it's not as granular as the internet, obviously, but this is going to become something that the writers, the actors, if residuals are involved, the lawyers will get involved. Everybody will know at some point, because it's going to be just the way TV works, and it'd just be internet TV as opposed to linear,
Kris, your thoughts?
Disney stock is not up on this news.
Well, to be honest, I'm actually reevaluating my thesis
like fucking 8% or whatever.
Whoa, that's some breaking news.
What?
No, hold on.
Okay, why?
Hold yours.
Wait, what did you just say?
I said that I am reevaluating my thesis on Disney. Primarily, I'm going to give it some time, of course, because I think that the leadership at Disney can navigate some of these changes, and they'll be okay as far as I can tell. I'm going to definitely have to see the terms of these deals, but in terms of entertainment, it was a shitty industry to begin with, and it's going to be a shitty industry to invest in. So
I agree with you there.
In terms of like workers, yeah, the workers will make money, the actors, producers, writers, they all make money. But in terms of investors, this is going to be, first of all, investing in entertainment itself comes with a lot of risk. Like people don't necessarily consider that, but it comes with a lot of risk.
Did the
Now,
deal
there's been
today trigger you to feel like this because the deal wasn't good enough for the studios? Is that
no,
why?
no. I've just, like I said, I've been doing my research on it, and just there was a point where it became much better in terms of monetization for the studios, whether it be movie studios, TV studios, to actually make money. The problem is with streaming coming up right now, the way that you normally monetize that what's the word, that commodity is becoming harder and harder. And at the same time, all the vectors that usually were the profit centers for a lot of these businesses, because you have to think of it as in terms of a business, right? You had these studios, they would create content, it would be in the movie, it would be, in the movies, they would make some money from there. And then after that, it would go to like the TV channels, and then you would get money from there. And what's happening is people are now getting a lot more choice. And so if you don't have really good content that speaks to a lot of people and a lot of volume, then what's going to happen is breaking even is the best you're going to be able to do. And then of course you'll get your occasional hits here and there. Like, this year, the two major hits were Super Mario and Barbie. I think the days where we see the multi-billion-dollar movies come on movie, in theaters, and then these studios actually making a lot of money on it may actually be over. So I don't know. I went to go see Dumb Money. I'll just tie that into it. And for such a new movie, this was a limited release. I went on a Saturday night in a busy area that usually you would think that there, at least the theater would be half full. Dude, there was like 4 people there. The entire theater, only 4 people.
I think this is a certain kind of movie, though. You're going to.
No. So here's the thing. You would think that, right? But this is the summer, and the entire movie, like theater itself, at 6 o'clock on a Saturday, bro, it looks so fucking dead. Like anywhere you go to see movies right now, they're dead. Unless it's like some kind of really, really good movie that's out. I barely see the amount of people that I did pre-COVID. And I think we've just become so trained to, hey, it's going to be out and streaming in a couple of months anyway. So why go and spend?
So how do you think this messes up Disney?
This not only messes up Disney, but messes up a lot of studios, because on one hand, you have to pay all the writers, you have to pay all the, producers, directors, everything. You have to pay them higher wages. On top of it, now you got to pay them residuals for all the stuff that they have. So the business model is just, it's not a good business model in terms of making money. So either one of two things is going to happen. You're going to see a lot of consolidation, which gives more pricing power. But even then, I don't know, because like you have so much free content that people produce. Like YouTube is probably traditional media's biggest competitor, whether they want to believe it or not. Like I know more people tune in to things like our show, and the amount of hours, look at how many watch hours that we get. So imagine someone like Mr. Beast and everything else. All of that time is being sucked away from linear TV, linear media, and traditional media. So what's happening is the ability to monetize those assets is diminishing every day. And so one of two things has to happen in order for this industry to survive. Number one, there has to be like a lot of consolidation to the point where the profits are all centered around a few companies, or it's going to be an industry that's like super subsidized for like ever. And it's not neither one of those scenarios would I want to be an investor in. Like I said, like if you look at entertainment is fraught with so much risk already.
Well look, going to the movie theater was already on the decline. COVID just accelerated that probably 5 years. And it's very hard to get people back once you tell them that it's unsafe and you don't let people go to the movie theaters. And people, by and large, are not incentivized to go to the movies anymore. It's not like you said, it's not destination. It's not an event for anything but the biggest like blockbusters where you want to see it on that massive screen and you can't really reproduce that at home. You just don't have that same effect. Or you have something like Barbie where it becomes a trend, where it becomes again a must-see experience and you want to see it as soon as possible.
I just want to say the issue with what you're talking about, why I never even enjoyed a thesis like investing in Disney or Paramount. By the way, it hit 52-week lows I think today. But the problem is and I'm in the movie industry. The problem is every time you need a new piece of content, you need new people to fill in to make that content. It's not like I can just have a piece of software, the 20 engineers made it, then we just sell it. There's no incremental cost to selling one more piece of software. If you make a whole new thing in a movie, you need another 100-person crew to be behind that movie. So that's always been the problem, that it's never been a great investment, even as me in the movie industry. And I love it. I love making the things, but it has always been just a suck on capital, always.
Yeah. So Kris, basically Google won for you versus Disney, because YouTube is Google.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say one thing real quick, because someone said, Google thanks, I'm gonna short Disney. I would not short Disney. And the reason for that is because it's already at such a low valuation that right now their resorts and entertainment area is where they're making their money. So one of the bull cases on Disney, of course, is that they will be able to monetize their assets way better than the other studios will be, because they have physical property. So as an example, and this is something that we've spoken about, Amit, when it came to Netflix, which was, you have content that you create, you're going to have people that watch movies and stuff, and then it goes downstream. You're going to bring it to streaming, so you're going to get revenue from streaming, right? And then you're going to have like theme parks that you can monetize that asset. You're going to have toys that you can monetize that asset. Like Disney's content is so monetizable that is a bull case, whereas other studios don't typically have the ability to do that. So I'm not saying that the bull case on Disney is over completely, but I would say that I am probably going to be a lot more focused on the numbers to see what kind of impacts these negotiations have on Disney's bottom line. Because if it ends up being that they have to risk a shit ton of capital to get very little return just to survive, that is not a business you want to invest in. I don't care if I said Disney was a great investment 3 months ago and my thesis changes. I'll be straight with you guys. This is how I'm feeling. I thought that they would play hardball, and a lot of these changes haven't necessarily been public yet, but this is the opportunity where we have to take a closer look and say, okay, how is this going to impact the streamers? Maybe there's an argument to be made that one of the negotiating points in this studio, like in this what is this called, with this negotiation, was that it lets less incumbents into the field. Maybe that's something that now, instead of having as many streaming services, that, they limit themselves to the amount of, I don't know. Like I said, it's something that we have to check out. And we also have to just give Disney and its leadership enough time to figure out, okay, how are we going to actually properly monetize this and actually make a business around this new paradigm of streaming versus DTC, which is streaming versus the linear TV model that they had in the past. So
all of them should perform better in the winter anyway. I mean, but people do take a break and do more outdoor activities in the summer. So we'll have to see what Q3 and Q4 are like, both subscriber numbers and like that audience retention, because they usually will do better in the winter when it's a little colder and people spend a little more time at home.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I don't know about you guys, but I barely watch any TV anymore, man. Like, I mean, unless there's shows.
For me, it's all YouTube. Honestly, it is all. Like I was texting you guys last night. I was doing research on geothermal, and I just started watching a bunch of videos on geothermal, but I go to YouTube and I start looking.
That was my original problem with the Disney thesis, because I was like, all right, if it's not linear TV, it's YouTube. So then Disney has to compete on streaming. And my biggest thing was just like, I just don't think Disney Plus is good content. Like, I didn't have anything complicated about Disney numbers, the debt, the assets. I was
forget about the specific streaming service. The business model of a streaming service is like, here's content that's related to like certain interests.
This is what I talked about Netflix.
Versus YouTube, which is like it's education. It's entertainment.
There's an algorithm.
There's so many different ways that platform presents videos, and so many different types of videos. I use it as
we all agree we're all on YouTube, first of all. But when my kids sit down to watch other content, they watch YouTube too, by the way. They will turn on Netflix 100%.
There's a spot for a lot of premium content, and that's where the Disney thesis might make sense. But then it's a question.
Well, the thing is, I'm talking about Netflix. I think Netflix, just like I said a long time ago, Netflix is probably going to eat all these companies up. They're going to be incorporated, or Paramount's going to sell their content to Netflix. So at the end of the day, you're going to have Amazon, maybe Disney, and definitely Netflix eating up all the content, and that's how it's going to be distributed. And Paramount, something like that, might end up going away. but they'll still make the content. It'll just be on Netflix. That's
See,
my
let
thesis
me there's one infographic that I'm just going to show you guys. And once you see it, it'll be like, holy shit, this is exactly why the business model is broken. You see this right here in 2007, you had Hulu, you had Netflix, you had Prime Video, right? Now you got all of this shit. You can download and go through all of this additional stuff. So there has to be consolidation down to a lot of
who do you think they're going to consolidate? Do you agree with VITALY that Netflix is going to eat up most of these guys? Or
yeah, I mean, dude, look at all the content that's on Netflix now that was usually exclusive to like HBO. I saw like while this strike is happening, I love Band of Brothers. Band of Brothers is owned by, I think, HBO, right? Band of Brothers, The Pacific, all of these shows are now on Netflix because HBO and Warner Brothers, I think, just said, you know what, fuck this, man. Like, instead of trying to do streaming, why don't we just license our content to Netflix and just, you know, make money that way? I think Disney has some plans to do that too, where instead of trying to do a lot of the streaming themselves, they're just like, okay, maybe we'll just be a service provider to another person and just get money that way. The problem is, like I said, I think maybe we'll have 4 streaming services survive. One of them is, of course, going to be Netflix, because they're the ones that have the best pricing power for consumers and the wide range of audiences they cover. Plus, the whole international presence is just on another level. So Netflix is going to be fine. They'll still be around. But in terms of like profitability and growth, I don't see them going much more beyond what they are right now. Another one that is likely to survive, of course, is Disney, because Disney has a lot of stuff with Hulu, with their own content, plus all the Fox acquisition, the ABC stuff. So they have a huge library that they can monetize. So Disney will be fine. Paramount is the one that I'm worried about. I'm like, bro, I don't know how Paramount's going to survive.
Buffett has a lot of that stock too.
And it's the same thing with, and it's the same thing.
Paramount's going to be fine.
And it's the same thing with Warner Brothers. Like, I don't know about Warner Brothers Discovery, how that's going to, like, by the way, that's another thing. Like, Warner Brothers and Discovery merged. So I don't know. I think there's going to be maybe 4 real streaming services. Prime Video will survive, of course, because it's an offshoot of parent Amazon.
Well,
so that's
they don't need to make much money on it. That's why it's going to survive.
Apple is probably going to keep supporting their thing because they have the cash flow to do it. But any independent studio that has to run off of their own balance sheet, they're going to have a tough time financing movies. They're going to have a tough time financing projects. And if they have a tough time doing it, they'll do a lot less. So in this negotiation, I think the stars and the writers, they won the debate, but they lost the war, because I think there's going to be less work in the future for these guys. I know that sounds controversial.
No, there's going to be more work for these guys. It's not going to be less work. Listen, AI is not killing their jobs. YouTube
AI is not jobs. AI won't.
For Netflix to be super successful and make as much content as it wants, you literally have to watch one show for 5 minutes, and they're going to, as long as you're paying for it, that's what matters. Right?
No. Kris, the jobs being killed requires a lot of attention leaving those platforms and going to like user-generated content like YouTube. And I think there's a lot on YouTube, but I don't think it's leaving Netflix. You know what I mean?
No. So it's
they still need to produce shows at the end of the day.
No, that's true. But I think there's going to be a lot less shows that are produced than historically in the past. That's what I'm saying. Like,
why?
Huh?
Why?
Because
they're going to get more users. They're going to want more content. Why would there be less shows?
No, because there's so much more cost associated with producing something. So guess what you do? If you can't get the capital behind a project, right? You can't get the financing done, then you're not going to make that show. So instead, and that's what Disney is doing. That's what Warner Brothers is doing. That's what all these guys are doing. Instead of making 100 movies, they're like, yo, maybe instead of doing 100 movies that are, medium, we'll just do 50 high quality. And that's it. We won't do as much, because otherwise we'll be paying residuals for something that no one even watches. You know what I mean? So
the residuals will only make the money if people watch. What happens is, and what I saw happen as we transitioned to streaming, the old model was like when you made a TV show, you had to do 5 seasons, because after 72 episodes, you could then license that out to the broadcast cable, right? So you needed to have 5 seasons. And so a lot of the writers and producers, when you pitch them an idea for a show, you have to give them a 5-season trajectory of what those characters. Why do you think Breaking Bad was like five seasons and it was over? And they paid. There was a guy who wanted to pay like several $1 million for more episodes of Breaking Bad, but they didn't need to anymore, because then after that, it was able to be licensed out in perpetuity. You don't really have that anymore, because the broadcast, that end game of having it on broadcast is not so. It's not as important as it once was. But what is important is franchises. Like you were saying, like Super Mario Brothers is a perfect example of that. It is a franchise. You can make the movie, you can make TV shows, you can do live events. And so what I think is there'll be a reduction of content created, but it's also going to skew it all towards franchises that they can make money eventually on the back end. Right. But even that, what that then becomes, as long as people still want the job, it becomes a closed circle. Like I even see that with some of my editing friends. There's some guys that I know that work on some of the best television shows, and they've now been there for 10, 15 years. A spot on one of those shows almost never opens up because those are the best jobs and no one else ever gets them. And so for the lucky people that can get on a show like that, right? If you can get on, Dancing with the Stars season 1, I promise you, those people are still there. It's the same crew, the same production crew, the same. It's almost like the crews that you see that do like daytime television. They never leave, and I knew several people that worked on those shows too. Once you get on one of those shows, it's a cash cow and it's basically a free ride to retirement. So
let me point out what happens to a lot of TV. The way you're thinking about it, everybody's in the union and they're all in the Writers Guild and they're all SAG actors. I'm actually not in the union. All right. And a lot of the shows that are being made that have proliferated over this last decade are these sort of crime shows. And they're all non-union and they're all made really, really cheap. So when Netflix buys these shows and they buy these shows, that's not their problem that it was non-union. They're allowed to still buy this content.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So my point is that there's going to be a lot of this stuff because they don't need to make as much money as you think, Kris. And it's been exploding. In fact, you would think it'd be less. No, Oxygen, in fact, the network that I'm working for, they basically went all crime all the time because apparently selling to housewives in terms of cooking shows was not working. But doing these kinds of low budget crime shows actually does pay off big time.
Crime shows.
It's kind of crazy that it does. But
the other thing that does really well, and in my field, is reality TV. Reality TV does really well.
And you're not paying any writers.
You're not paying any writers for that.
Well, you pay some writers. Hold on. You're not paying the producers. Even though they're writing, the producers are writing. Okay. But you don't pay them as writers because they're not part of the Writers Guild. You don't pay any of the actors except maybe some minimal amount, $100 or something. So like the cost of these shows is super cheap. And these are televised shows. And that's a lot of the content that is being made right now that has taken over the traditional content that you're talking about, like the sitcom, like the Seinfeld. So that part is already lower. It's the other stuff that has taken over. That's why there won't be less content because it is actually very cheap to make what they're doing right now. And it's profitable.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like I said, it's just
and game shows. Game shows do incredibly well.
People still watch game shows, bro.
Yeah. There's been an explosion.
I feel like you guys are in a bubble, a YouTube bubble.
There's an upfront cost, say, to build the set, but then after that, it's a very predictable show, right? It's a very predictable show, and game shows give you a lot of opportunity to monetize the airtime with advertisements because typically you're talking about products and/or services. So it's a no-brainer, and you're using your cast are regular people, so they're not actors. You might have to pay like the host or someone else, right? Like a Vanna White to turn some letters, but I mean, other than that, though, that's why those shows go on forever. So reality TV and game shows have basically been propping up the industry for the last.
Okay, here's the question: do you think we ever get another Seinfeld?
Yeah, I mean, we've had The Office. We've had like The Office. So you mean
that was 2009? That was a while ago, man.
You mean a quality of show like that?
Yeah, like a show where like 5 million people will sit in front of their TV and watch every week.
Dude, there's tons of shows like that.
Like what?
Are you saying yeah?
Like a sitcom.
I mean, no, the way Amit's describing it, the way Amit's saying it is like, because right now, yes, there are shows where they get millions of views, but it's not like everyone sat there on Sunday and everyone watched it at the same time
and watched 8 minutes of ads.
Well, like a Must See Thursday or whatever,
like a Game of Thrones.
I mean,
like a Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, dude. No, there's shows like that. Like,
stop it.
I'll tell you, like, what do you call it? Like
take
right now with Disney, and
you're out of the green shirt club today.
Like Disney with Ahsoka, like I watch it literally 9 o'clock on Tuesdays when it comes. Like I love watching it. I love going on Twitter and like commenting on some of the stuff. I love looking at some of the reviews that are on YouTube, like what people are thinking about.
That's on Disney
how
Plus,
they're crafting.
That's on linear.
No, that's on Disney Plus. That's on Disney Plus. Game of Thrones is the same thing. Like, dude, Game of Thrones. So there are definitely shows that are like cultural icons, but dude, it takes a lot to get to that cultural iconness where everyone needs to. Now, I think that's what a lot of what Disney might actually end up doing, where they're monetizing the things that just make a lot of sense, that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards, you know. So instead of trying new things, like, you know, being a little bit more experimental like they did in the past with like some of the content that they've created, they're going to be a lot more traditional and focused with things that resonate with everybody. And what's interesting is something that Bob Iger just recently came out and on CNBC, and he said that basically that the culture wars are over. Like, he's going to do everything in his power to like distance himself from the culture wars. And I think even today, I don't know if you saw with BlackRock, they ended a couple of their ESG funds. So I think ESG is backfired to the point where people are fucking like saying, look, we don't want your bullshit anymore. We're not going to put money towards it. We're not going to do anything towards it. And it's actually losing a lot of steam. So I think a lot of the things
conscious capitalism?
No, that shit is dead in my opinion.
Rebranded it.
Nah, I think that all that stuff is dead, man.
It's gone.
At the end of the day, if you don't make money, everyone is a capitalist at the end of the day. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it could be the greatest thing on the planet in terms of like human development, but if it doesn't make money, no one gives a fuck about it, right? ESG was this conscious effort to try to get people to be, you know, to bring in ideas of more diversity and forced behaviors. But you can't force behavior because that is not a profitable business model. People will still always do what people want. I mean, you can do it, but you have to be a lot more subtle to it than what they tried to do, which is just pump this shit into the fucking psyches of the American population and the world population and think that that was okay. And the rest of the world just said, fuck that. No, like y'all played your hand too quickly. And basically now it's out of the brain, you know.
Bring up real John Sarge comment at 4:30. He's saying it's going to devolve back to the bundle packages of cable. I had heard something that Apple was going to offer something.
It is already very close. In fact,
I'm looking at this.
Not far.
Apple already offers their own version of a bundle. So if you want to have iCloud, TV, music, arcade, Apple Fitness, Apple News, instead of paying all these individual subscriptions, you get the Apple One. Now that's within their ecosystem, but that to me would be the best news ever if they did something like that, where you were able to package together the streaming services. You see bits of it now where like, hey, sign up for an AT&T phone and get a Netflix subscription. They're starting to do some of that, but that's what's really needed. I don't know if it'll ever be like the heyday of cable television, because the subscription service allowed networks that nobody watched to like Lifetime. Lifetime would just automatically get a small piece of that cable money, that cable subscription money, even if it was $1 from 100 million people, that's $100 million, right? And that would basically fund them, whether people watched it or not, and they'd still be able to sell ads or whatever it was on the network. That's kind of what's needed. I don't know how it would really work on in the streaming services. My hope would be that it would be better because you have much more granular data on people, and the advertisements that you send to individual people are personalized, and they're also not skippable, so you can charge a little bit more of a premium.
Did you hear what they said today, that The Office is getting a reboot
with a new cast?
I mean, I saw a couple articles on it, so I do think it's true. But yeah,
this would make sense. This is what happened to music. If you really think about it, a lot of the music now, or a lot of the music in the last 15 years, was a rehash. Once
it's happening with Greg Daniels. I don't know if you know who that is, but Greg Daniels. Yeah,
Greg Daniels. I'll look him up. So that would be great. I mean, it would be great, because then it would give a base level of capital to these companies that would allow them to essentially just fund TV shows, and like you said, Kris, take a chance on some things that can be a hit, because the revenues is guaranteed or somewhat steady.
Well, I mean, right now it's even worse because the credit markets are so tight. To try to get financing right now, it's going to be really rough, you know, to take a chance on a movie or a show that may not end up producing the amount of profit. And if you have, like I said, it's all about capital, right? Right now, capital is expensive. A lot of industries are feeling the heat on that. So 2 years ago, you could theoretically finance projects that made losses for some period of time. I don't think that those projects are going to be fundable nowadays, you know, so just something to see.
All right, what else was in the title? Amazon competing with OpenAI and ChatGPT.
Yeah, we can do a quick one on this. So Amazon's investing $4 billion in Anthropic, which is a competitor with OpenAI. Anthropic's going to use them as the base for AWS cloud computing, and they have something called Claude, which is their version of ChatGPT, and it's like really good. I mean, it's not bad. So the starting point for the question is, do we think Amazon's going to really try to put their foot in the ring here with Bard and ChatGPT by taking a stake in this company?
Can you read a little bit of the article?
Yeah, e-commerce group said it will initially invest 1.25 billion with an option for another 3 billion. Minority stake, which is like Google's borrowed in Microsoft OpenAI. It's AI-powered text analyzing chatbot. Google is also an investor of the company. And Amazon Anthropic has found a deep-pocketed strategic investor that can provide it to compute power with building AI models. As a part of the agreement, they will use AWS as a primary provider.
That's what they've got. That's their skin in the game.
That's what they cared about.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting. Amazon's doing this. Like 1.25 billion is a decent chunk of cash.
It's nothing to them. It's no different than what they've invested in Rivian. But I'm not thinking that Amazon's going to become an EV company either. It just makes sense for a company like that to be spread out and have some influence in how some of this goes. And it makes sense with their AWS to secure a client for that. You know what I mean? That's my take.
I thought this was super bullish for Google, believe it or not, because it shows that, well, number one, the cloud. Okay, so AWS has their own cloud business, right? One of the areas that Google has been pushing very hard is using generative AI to do services in the cloud, specifically geared towards AI related projects. So right now you can actually make an app without any code using Google AI. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but you can. And so a lot of new developers are doing stuff using GCP, which is the bull case for Google. For me, Amazon saying, hey, we don't want to be left behind. We need our own, team of guys that are going to be able to help push products like this. That's why they got Anthropic, which made total sense. So now it's like, it kind of like confirms the bull case for Google to say, look, this is actually an industry worth pursuing.
By the way, they both invested in it. Google's also invested in Anthropic. It's not as much as Amazon.
Right. But that's the whole point, that now this industry is not a fake industry. Like, unlike a lot of shit coins and crypto outside of the Bitcoin and Ethereum, where you had all these projects that just came out that were complete bullshit, we can actually start to see that, no, this AI revolution is a real revolution. Is it maybe overvalued in certain pockets of it? Maybe. I can't say 100% definitively that, no, there's no overvaluation. But I can say that this industry is a real industry that has real dollars behind it, and that will likely grow into something major for Google, for Amazon, and for Microsoft as terms of a business over the next 5 to 10 years. So a lot of these big firms, like big tech companies, they needed another vector of growth for the next 10 years. I think they just got it with AI. So I mean, they already were going to grow thanks to just regular cloud, but I think the transition now from on-prem stuff to cloud just became even easier, because unlike back in the day where you can do a lot more on-prem stuff, I find it very hard to believe that you could do on-prem AI related projects that you're probably going to be almost like required to use one of the cloud services to actually develop products around it. And like, if you're not incorporating AI into your applications, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably already behind. So,
well, the beauty of this is that if you were, as a company, you didn't want to use cloud, or you had your own infrastructure. Now all of a sudden, well, it's harder to buy thousands of GPUs and scale up that way. So now, okay, I guess I have to use AWS. I have to use Google Cloud. Yeah. And I wrote a tweet today. I was like, the winners are obviously here: Meta, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. These are clear winners for the next 10 years, 20 years in AI and cloud infrastructure. And all these little players that people are looking at, I won't mention anything, AMIT, they are nowhere near what these guys are doing. And it's just like, why aren't you picking these winners that are already down massively? And it's obvious where the growth trajectory is. It's in these massive players still. It's kind of crazy that they're going to get bigger. It's crazy.
All right.
Put the link in the chat.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions in the chat, we got about 15 minutes left. There was another piece of news, so put your questions. We'll put them up. I'll put the link in the chat if anyone wants to join as well. The ChatGPT came out with this whole thing where you can talk to it now. That was a big deal today. Remember we were talking about a voice to ChatGPT thing? Mm-hmm. It's out apparently. Let me show the demo video. It was a really interesting video.
Again, these demo videos. We discussed it the other day that to fully utilize that technology, you need a new input device, and the input device has to be your voice. You just have to be able to talk to it in a natural language and feel like you're having a conversation with it without knowing you're having a conversation with an AI. When you get to that point, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, this looks like it should be killing Google. It's probably not, but when you look at it, you're just like, why would I use Google? But obviously, this is just crazy.
Can you kill the music?
I'm gonna get demonetized for this music.
It just sounds horrible.
It does sound horrible, to be honest. So then it's gonna literally take a picture of a specific part, circle it, and be like, and then Google Bard will probably come out with something like this too. But it's just crazy to think how advanced.
I think we already have a lot of this, by the way. The whole picture thing. They
like,
updating,
like highlighting specific stuff and asking. I didn't know we had that shit already.
What is this? Like oh, you're a Google investor now? He said we.
No. In general, I think like humanity. I didn't know you could circle something, be like, hey, tell me exactly what this part is, and then what to do. I mean, ChatGPT definitely.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool. Very useful.
But didn't you say? I thought you said it was speech, where I could.
No, that's part of the announcement. I don't think this video has that. But the announcement.
Yeah, I did read about the speech part. I think it's part of their premium tier, so you do have to pay whatever it is, $20 to experience it right now.
Okay. All right, we got someone in the back who's with us. We actually got two people today. Let's start off. Why don't we bring them both on? We haven't brought two people on at once. Matt Money and Sean.
Amit did not seem enthused that I was backstage. He was like, "What's this guy gonna fucking?"
I love having you on.
You got to move Chris back to the left, otherwise he's talking to the chat box.
Sean is driving, so Sean, don't.
Yeah, I'm driving a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me just fine, or?
Good boy.
Yeah.
Fine, brother.
Good boy.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I'm in a Tesla autopilot, so let's not worry about it too much.
Oh, perfect. You got the Tesla. All right. So, Matt, let's start with you. What's up?
First and foremost, what's up with the memberships, man? I'm trying to get you guys, 4 guys paid, and you hate me, and you just refuse.
What do you mean?
You're not taking his membership? Take his money.
No, we can't because we're not at a certain subscription amount.
No. I approved it already. I need to check on it. I approved it.
That's okay. I'm just giving you crap. I just want to gift you guys members, and also an unmember from AMIT, so that I could give you guys the money. So that's the hope.
Making it public so he doesn't steal it or hide it from us.
Yeah, exactly. Bad joke. But serious question though. 2 weeks on from Leaps coming out on the 11th of this month. Have you guys thought about any particular spreads, or have you opened up any spreads in the past 2 weeks that you want to divulge, or you don't have to?
I think we did already. Me and Kris have Google spreads. I think we already divulged that, and AMIT too, I believe.
Yeah. So
Google,
I mean,
baby.
Kris,
Google.
if you want to explain it, or
yeah, Google spreads, boy. That's what we're doing. I don't want to go into it too far, actually, but because spreads are risky, also in terms of like execution. So I'm not gonna discuss it too much, and I think we shouldn't discuss it too much. The only reason why I say that is because you have to know how to set it up, and each broker and individual brokerage does it differently. So we don't want to say, okay, do this and then do that, and then you get hit with all sorts of issues. So in terms of execution, just look up spreads, go to the broker's website, see if you're allowed to do spreads. By the way, that's the other thing. Not every account is allowed to do spreads. Only I think tier 2 and tier 3 level accounts are allowed to do spreads. So if you're like a tier 1 person, you're not allowed to. So there's like so many complicated things. So we're not going to talk about it. But yes, I of course have opened up spreads on Google. I think Google is very undervalued for its true potential. Even today, last week, they announced that they're laying off a whole bunch of their recruiting teams. They're right sizing the ship. They spent a shit ton of I'll show you guys in a little bit if you guys want to talk about anything else.
Maybe we do a Google episode tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We can do a Google focused episode tomorrow.
Sean,
I'm curious to see what the costs of the spreads are, because what I found, or even if you're saying that like the leap contracts, what I have been finding is any of these long-term leaps that I've been buying, I've pretty much been getting out of them in a few months, and so I find that I'm not needing the time premium that I thought I did, and so I'd be looking at just a year out. I think a year is a good amount of time to have enough premium where I have some window to sell before I get too much of the theta decay. But 2 years out, with the way that the market has been, I don't know that I necessarily need to pay an additional premium for that time.
Okay, Sean, what's up?
Real quick. So my question was, I saw something online where MasterCard and Visa were planning on hiring the percentage of fees that they have every time you purchase something with their card. I think right now it's at 3%. Am I correct? Do you guys know about that? Or
I'm not sure exactly what it is. 3% sounds really high, actually.
Is it?
It sounds.
I don't know. That's what I thought.
What was the question? 3% what?
He's saying that
the
fee would go up.
Go ahead.
Did you guys hear anything about that or no?
I don't think any of us heard anything about that.
No, we heard. He said he read somewhere online that MasterCard and Visa intend on raising the fee that they charge every time you swipe the card. And he said that the fee right now is 3%. And I'm saying that to me sounds really high. I thought it was more like a 1%, maybe 2%, and maybe the high fees were American Express, because that I've heard that American Express has significantly higher fees. But okay, so let's say it's 3%.
I was just curious. Do you think that would actually help people change to crypto or use PayPal and Venmo instead, or would that kind of like?
The problem is the company, the business pays that fee. The customer doesn't really feel it the same way. So, if you convince enough people to use MasterCard and Visa as the fees go up, that's their whole business. That business has no choice.
Use a credit card or. Okay, because I was wondering, because I know sometimes you can use cash, like a gas station or something like that. You'll get like a discount per gallon or something like that. So I'm wondering if you think businesses might do that and use maybe a bull case for crypto to come, or even Venmo or PayPal or other options.
I took my kid to the playground the other day, and we wanted to get some ice cream from the lady. She only accepted Zelle. I was like, that is weird. She wouldn't accept a credit card. She wouldn't accept anything else. She only accepted Zelle. So it's possible. The thing is, I don't know that would necessarily automatically push people to crypto. That is part of the bull case for it. But then you have to calculate what the fees are even to do that. Like, unless you sign up for a monthly fee where you have no transactions, there's still some fee involved in doing the transaction to whoever the custodian of the wallet is.
Honestly, Sean, I don't think that's the bull case for crypto at all. Like using it as a currency. I know we talk about it, that it is a currency, but okay, so Bitcoin we know is just a store of value. That's the whole point of it, at least at this point. And Ethereum is for smart contracts, which is not to me buying something at a store. It's more about if, in fact, I had a bet with a New Blood Pop today. We were doing our Twitter thing, and we wanted Amit to hold our $200, but he didn't want to hold our $200 for our bet. And the perfect thing for that is a smart contract to do that. So
this was the dumbest thing I ever got tagged in. They were like, hold $200 for 5 years.
No, but the point is like crypto is perfect for those use cases. That's perfect for Ethereum smart contracts. And I think Grogu even mentioned how to do it properly. So,
I still think a smart contract is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
No,
I told you this 2 years ago.
When that becomes adopted, things like mortgage brokers, escrow companies,
I'm saying this right now in this podcast. Smart contracts will never replace mortgages or any types of official contracts ever. I don't think that.
No, you're wrong.
I think it has to, because like we're talking about with Sean.
I think it's a pipe dream. It's a fantasy.
I'll give you an example.
No one's signing a smart contract.
I'll give you an example, like title insurance. That could easily be done in a smart contract.
It could easily happen, but it's not going to happen.
I think it will. Do you understand what a smart contract is, basically?
No, Vitaly explained it to me 2 years ago, and I thought it was stupid. I asked Vitaly, hey, why didn't you buy your house? Why didn't you buy your house on a smart contract? And Vitaly was like, well...
Listen, I'm an old guy. Things are changing all the time.
Dude, when I'm buying a house, I'm not signing an NFT to buy a fucking house.
But the thing is, because someone is hesitant to be, say, an early adopter in a specific technology or service does not mean that they're not necessarily bullish on it. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen
10 years from now.
No, it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
What do you think they said to the first people that bought an EV, that bought a Tesla?
EVs actually make
sense. What
are
you doing with that?
Smart contracts.
Who's going to service it? Same.
Well, in 2009, they didn't make sense. When someone bought the Model S, or whenever, 2010, that didn't make as much sense back then. Time sort of fixes those things. So, for your bull case, Sean, I hope it's not about just transacting and buying gum. That's not.
I was just curious if you guys thought it was I was wondering if you guys liked or had it as one of your bull cases to change stuff like that. I'm not invested in crypto at all. I still don't know enough about it. And like I said, if you can't use it for currency, then I have a hard time thinking about ever using it myself. That's crypto I have a hard time with. It's just one of those things.
Even though it's a currency, I agree with Vitaly that I don't think its use case is to be used as a currency. I think it's in order for it to reach the market caps that we need, it needs to be seen as a store of value. It needs to be people putting 5% or 10% or whatever of their income away and not touching it and then just letting it accrue. To see it more like buying real estate. This is, to me, a much more accurate way of looking at crypto. That it's really not. It's space. It's real estate. Property.
I'm gonna go on the other side of this and actually agree with. I mean, I think smart contracts are stupid. The reason why is because
but they're called smart.
Well,
they're called smart though.
The reason why is because I'm actually bullish on
contracts.
No, I'm more bullish on databases. I think databases are what actually.
What do you think a public ledger is? What do you think that is?
No, but that's the thing. We don't need to have a decentralized system. We actually need more centralization so that this way you have one source of truth. You don't need 50,000 sorts of truth. Like it doesn't.
No, that is one source of truth. That is one source of truth, by the way.
That is not just because it's
Bitcoin is one blockchain with one source of truth.
One blockchain.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is that there has to be one source of truth for all transactions, and I wouldn't feel
safe.
He's
describing Bitcoin.
There still is. The point of it still is.
Yeah, it's like
Bitcoin is.
Well, how come you guys have not used a smart contract to buy? You guys always say you're so excited about it. You never use this.
Because no one trusts it. Because no one trusts it. Everyone uses databases. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
if it was such a
that isn't the reason, by the way. It's just that it's not as easy right now. It's just not as simple to do.
Okay, what needs to happen for it to be easy? Walk me through what.
I'll give you an example. So like when I go and buy a house with my attorney, maybe he uses smart contracts internally built in through some system to do like title insurance.
Go deeper. Why would he?
Because it's cheaper. He'll say, hey, do you want to pay the $1,300 you're paying, which I've had plenty of title insurance for all the houses. Do you want to pay the $1,400 that they charge you? It's almost a government form that you fill out and you just and you have to put it into the counties, obviously register it. So imagine
that stuff matters, by the way.
It does matter, but imagine there's a system to do this simply, and they just charge you $700 for it. And he gives me the option: do you want to pay the human to go do that, or do you want the smart contract to do it for you? I'll pay half the price.
Hold on a second. So what you're saying is what? Magically, it's just going to actually just the transaction is going to happen and then automatically be put into a smart contract and everything else.
If the city runs on a back end for Ethereum for this acceptance.
Hold on. You think a bureaucratic city is going to decide to use Ethereum as their base
they're already
layer?
Starting. This is already beginning. This is not something I'm making up.
Where?
Okay, fine. I'll find you an actual example right now.
I just want one city in the world.
Here's the thing: you have to transact with Ethereum in order for that smart contract to work. Is that what you're saying?
It's not hard to search for cities using smart contracts. Hold on a sec.
The idea behind it is this: if I want to buy a house, say I need to put $40,000 down, I need to prove that I have that money, and that money needs to be available for the time that we execute the purchase. Now, we both have contractual stipulations that need to occur for that money to be released. Right now, I'm paying an escrow company to physically take my 40 grand and hold on to it as custodian. Now, they're responsible for it. And if I uphold every part of my contract and the other party does the same, the money moves. I'm paying a fee for that escrow company to hold that money for me. The smart contract essentially replaces that custodian, because the contract built into the storing of that money are certain contractual stipulations that need to be hit. There's no way to hack it. There's no way to pull that money out. Once I put the money in, I can't withdraw it. And once I put the money in, someone can't go and take it. The money is there.
I just think it's unrealistic, bro. The idea sounds good, but no municipality is going to agree to this.
I want to get you genetic. We need to do a 23andMe, because I actually think you're like 95 years old.
No, you don't do 23andMe. Give up everything.
No, but Carlos, so like the city of Los Angeles, one day you're telling me they're going to be like, well, we're done with escrow. We're done with like having a title residence.
But it's
well, here, how to buy real estate.
Hold on. In the same way that we didn't just wake up one day and say let's all switch to EVs. It's slow.
No, this is such a horrible. You can't say one innovation is the reason another innovation is just going to happen if you give it time.
That's the purpose of it.
No. Yeah, that's the definition of innovation. But then we have to get to the granularity of like, does this innovation make sense?
It does absolutely make sense.
NFTs don't make any fucking sense. That's why they're gone. That's why they're dead. They're not here, even though they were innovative.
I'm not advocating for
a lot of cities are also accepting taxes in terms of using crypto as well. I hope you know that as well.
I would say that you're not really you're not thinking about the movement of funds across borders as much as you should, right? So say somebody from Europe wants to buy a house in the United States. Think about how much effort it would take to kind of do all this conversion, competing with the banks, everything. So if you just have Bitcoin, then you have the ability, or Ethereum, you have the ability to do those transactions no problem. I mean, Shimon Palpatia bought a $25 million house or a vacation house with Bitcoin, Right?
Bitcoin is great.
Yeah. So
Dude,
apparently
Bitcoin is great. If I need to launder money, I'm going to use Bitcoin.
Oh, stop it.
My point is, like, I didn't really
Launder
do a
money.
thorough search, but cities are starting to use like real estate, especially. It makes a lot of sense. There are certain things that are processes that happen for smart contract purposes that you don't actually need people involved. You actually don't need them there. It's just legalese that has to be filled out and filed with the city. As long as it's allowed to be done, you can do it. And buying houses, some title insurance, something else.
This website looks like it's from Better Call Saul.
Oh, Jesus.
Like,
why is it that whenever we have guests, it always starts a fight with us? Sean, now today it was
because
you.
smart
You started
contracts are fucking stupid,
Oh,
bro. You
Jesus.
guys are this.
You're
the dumbest
whether
thing
it's
ever.
stupid or not, in your opinion, they are actually happening.
No, no one's
That was
using
my
them.
only point.
No
They're
one's using
actually
them.
happening in the real world.
Okay.
I'll leave you guys
Whether you
to
like
it.
them or
Thanks for
not.
having me on. I'll tell you.
We got to end the pod anyway. We're gonna end it here. But
Turn
thanks,
Sean
Sean.
upside down.
Sean, every time Sean comes on, you started the Shopify debate last time with me and Carlos.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah.
But this is why
You were
this
the
is why
guy.
you should have this at the end of every pod. They're
That's good.
interesting. Good
It is.
questions, you know?
And this is also probably why people don't want to come on the pod. They don't want to get
scared.
They don't want to start a fight.
No.
All right.
I agree with your sentiment, by the way, Amit, that it's not very useful right now. I totally agree with that. I'm not going to use it right now. But in 10 years, the landscape could be different. I don't think you used. So I was actually using internet BBSs back in the 1980s, late 80s. I was actually using the internet in its early form. Were you using BBSs in 2000? No, because that was the beginning. That's what people did. And I don't know if you remember Pine, how you talk through email. Carlos might remember Pine.
I remember AIM.
I
AIM.
remember
AIM is actually
being on
after that.
Prodigy and trying to make that. I mean, I remember all these things.
Yeah, those things were the beginnings of something. The first browser, they were just so rudimentary. So the same thing is going on right now. In 10 years, this is going to be a different landscape. And if there's money to be made and saved, believe me, they're going to use this technology. It just makes sense.
Okay. So invest in Ethereum, not a company to do smart contracts. Ethereum would be
no. I would not be betting on these side things that are happening. Ethereum is the thing because they have to. The currency is on the network. So even when you if you do some sort of a transaction on the blockchain, on the Ethereum blockchain, you as an Ethereum investor benefit from that. So I would just stick with Ethereum.
Just hold the essay. Yeah. The last thing before it gets too dated in the news, because I also do have to go, would be I just wanted to play a little bit of this. We should comment on this. Can you guys see this?
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, this was huge.
Okay, so this is actually quite massive. Optimus can now sort objects autonomously. Its neural network is trained fully end-to-end, video in, video out. What needs to be explained further is they say that you can train it, but like talking to it, but does it mean you're inputting text or can you actually use natural language? We still don't know that yet, but I think we should play a little bit of this and maybe get into some of the text that appears here at the bottom. Using only vision and joint position encoders, it can precisely locate its limbs in 3D space. So now, I guess they have it using the vision and then these like joint position encoders that are on each of the joints. It can know exactly where its hands and its limbs are in physical space. And because of that, I'd love to have seen the training, but you can see saying accurately calibrated, Optimus learns various tasks more efficiently.
This is going to be huge. I mean, one day, this is actual stuff I think is going to happen.
The idea behind this, Amit, is that there's no code telling it to do that. They didn't tell it what the thing is. They showed it videos of what they wanted it to do. And then it learned, okay, so this is what you want me to do. For example, it can sort these blocks by color fully autonomously.
No, that's amazing. That's real.
For all the shit that Elon says that AI is going to come and take over and all this other shit, bro, you're fucking making robots that can actually do it. Now you take the AI, you combine it with this physical thing, bro. This looks so fucking dangerous.
Elon loves the drama. He loves his own downfall.
I mean, this guy's like, oh my God, AI is gonna come and like we need to control AI, and then he's like, oh, but let me make a fucking robot that obviously can probably wield a rifle.
If you read the specs, it is actually very, very limited in terms of its speed. He said it's a 5.8 machine. You can easily outrun it. Its maximum like speed is 4 or 5 miles an hour.
For now, until it starts upgrading itself. Until it starts upgrading itself.
Scared, bro.
Well, but there's also you see that, I don't know if you can see, there's a red button on the back of its neck. That's a kill switch. Push that button and
kill switch.
Until they figure out that I just removed this button and I'm fucking gonna live forever, bro. This is a dangerous idea, bro. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. Do not put AI and robots together.
Okay, this is ridiculous. Okay? This is ridiculous.
I agree with Kris, but I still think we need to do
That's a silly
this.
comment, Kris.
It really is. It really is.
Bro,
It
did
really
you
is.
not see the T200, the fucking Terminator?
Kris, are you joking or are you serious? Are you joking or are
I'm
you serious?
dude. I'm
no,
serious.
because I'm not serious. I get your joke.
Okay, I think okay, fine. We gave it air. We gave it time. I want to get serious because there is something here that I found super interesting, and it's been actually getting shit on all over the web. If you look at what it's doing here, it auto corrected.
Why are you bringing this up? This is like,
okay.
Are you talking about the movement?
Yeah, no. There's people that said Tesla invented horizontal gravity because whatever. But my point is that no one told the machine that to have them all right side up, and then just naturally in the process of sorting these things, as one was knocked over, it flipped it over on its own.
That's good.
That is really good. No, yeah. That is really good.
No, this is bad.
People were hating on that. People were hating on that.
Chris is trolling now. Chris is trolling.
Dude, this is so hating. I don't really understand how far away from general AI this is.
Just because it's far away doesn't mean that we should keep going. Oh, you know what? Let's go right up until the point where they become sentient and fucking try to kill us. You would be the guy
protesting, the printing press. I kind of feel that.
No. Right. Like, damn it, too many women are already learning how to read. We need to stop the presses.
All right, segment dead. Thanks, guys.
No, I'm just saying, why are we giving AI arms and fucking legs?
Because shareholder returns. They said Tesla's 30 trillion. We need something.
No, dude. No, man. We need to stop this.
I'll give you a good reason, because we're not having enough babies. Ilana said we're not having enough babies. We're going to need robots to take care of people. Japan knows this. So this is what needs to happen.
No, but Kelly has a good point here. I mean, I know I think Kris is joking a little bit, but if we train that motherfucker on murder, it would commit murder. It wouldn't care.
No, because
we gotta be careful with this shit, Carlos. Like,
I know. And remember what happened in the Matrix. Remember what happened in Matrix. The first robot, the reason why he killed this human master was because he didn't want to die, right? So it's like, oh, you know what? You're not doing what I want you to do.
when did that happen?
The Matrix. Animatrix. Animatrix. One of the parts. So one of the things, like they had this whole thing.
Did you even watch the real Matrix?
Yeah, I did. But I'm saying that eventually, like this robot just flipped a block on the right side, right? It somehow figured out that, hey, you know, if I flip the block this way, then that's the correct action. So it will eventually figure out if I don't want to be turned off, that button right there in the back, if someone tries to press it, I'm going to break their hand. And then that's it. It's over. And then the robots are going to come, bro. You don't want one of these things. I don't know what you guys think.
The Terminator kind of predicted all this stuff too, right?
Yeah, man.
Funny. First of all, we know the Terminator works. The robot has to come back from the future to the past. That's the only way this works.
I'm going to have to be fucking John
Connor. Carlos, here's the question. Let's say if this was a real possibility, would you as a Tesla shareholder want Elon to shut this down? Let's say it was more than what Kris is saying. Like it's like legitimately becoming a murderous possibility. Would you want humanity to shut this down? Even if Tesla doesn't get the benefit?
There's so many built-in, like not even so hidden assumptions that I think that question is even ridiculous. I'm sorry, Kris, but I think like the take on it, I hope it's just to be funny, but I think it's really silly, and it actually undermines a lot of the advancements that are happening here and a lot of the bull case. This thing didn't exist. Hold on. This thing didn't. I listened to you for 5 minutes. Okay. This thing didn't exist 2 years ago. It's on generation 5. It is being trained solely with video in, video out. The same silly comments that you're making now, you could also make about the vehicles, because that's the same software that's driving the vehicles. And we don't talk about the cars are going to just want to crash into all these people so that they don't shut it down. I mean, it's a silly argument. I think what we should be doing is celebrating the advancements of this thing, because here's the thing. You're worried about a machine, a robot walking around, and you don't have any problem with the AI controlling our weapon systems. They can do way more damage than having.
I agree. I don't think the AI should be in weapons either.
That's why he dropped Palantir. That's why he's
seriously, to think that a robot walking down the street punching you in his face is an existential threat when there's AI basically holding the keys to all of our nukes is ridiculous, especially coming from a military background. It's silly.
I would say there's plenty of people with nefarious intentions that will stop those limiters.
They already have the button on them. They already have the button on hypersonic missiles. What do you? But that's what
I'm trying to say. That just because people are doing it doesn't mean it's okay. Like we shouldn't have hypersonic missiles. We shouldn't have fucking AI controlling drones that can bomb us to hell. We shouldn't have AI that can launch a nuclear weapon at any given time. Like this is the problem. We need less AI.
Do you understand that even a car is a weapon of like mass destruction. I could go out right now on my car and go on a frenzy. Anyone that's played Grand Theft Auto, what do you think happened to those kids in Vegas? They went out and mowed a guy down on a bicycle because they used it as a weapon. It shows you how easy it is to turn anything that is meant to make our life easier.
Right. So let's not make it even easier for the robots. Let's.
I'm sorry. It's silly.
There was a good conversation, by the way, just at least to end this. Who was just Carlos? Remind me, who was the guy who worked on AI? What was his name?
Andre Karpathy.
Yes, Andre Karpathy. He had a conversation with Lex Friedman, and I believe they talked about in terms of reproduction in AI. And that's really the downfall of robots. They actually don't know how to reproduce themselves. They can't make little microchips. So that's not going to happen for a very long time. So the humans will always be in this loop, at least for the foreseeable future, for a very long time, because there is no reproduction that happens on them by themselves. That's actually a big thing to your
but Kris is going to say they'll put a gun to your head. The robot will put a gun to your head.
Why do we have to go this route? What?
No.
Why
my
do we
point
have
is
to go this route?
We have the kill switch no matter what. At this point, there is no robot apocalypse taking us over because they will need us at the end of the day anyway to make the chips for them. So
I feel like that's what they said at the beginning of the Terminator movie. And
it's
then
all
by
Terminator.
You know, you guys said my argument for smart contract is stupid because he sounded stupid.
Yeah.
We might be sounding stupid thinking they're going to be all friendly and benevolent.
Okay. So if we can have a serious conversation.
I think it's the programmer who actually trains that robot, whether it's friendly or not. That's the programmer's responsibility.
Yeah, but then
it's
there's
not the
also
robot
like,
choosing to be friendly or mean or not.
But Vitaly, that's the other problem, that not every programmer is going to have like good intentions at heart.
Right.
If someone like let's say the Chinese come and they hack all these fucking robots into turning them into like murderous kill bots.
That's a good point.
Then we got a problem. I mean, software can be written, but it can also be overwritten.
Yeah, but the same thing can happen right now. If Chinese wanted to get into our building infrastructure, into our what is it called? Our Con Edison or PSE&G infrastructure in terms of electric and power. They could already do that.
No, that's why we banned Huawei. We got rid of a lot of it.
No, but I'm saying if the hack happens, it could already happen right now.
But Vitaly, the difference is a human hacker has to go through all these things to get these hacks to work. With AI can brute force its way into a lot of things, dude. Like I'm telling you, having AI, we think of it as such like a great thing right now, but there are so many things that are dangerous with AI that can come around where think about it this way.
Look, I get what you're saying.
I've been the one saying that this whole time, that AI is not something to be played with. I've been saying this for a long time, because it's already coming for you. It's coming for your attention. It's literally changing the biology of current generations away from even the way that we socially interact. I've been saying this forever, but to think that if somebody wants to cause mass amounts of harm, that the way to do it is to hack a bunch of robots in human form. That's not the way. If you really want to do that, the way to do that is with drones. You get a bunch of airborne drones, facial recognition. There was a whole video about this. There was a movie, a short film that a guy made about this.
Those are technically robots too.
We're talking about robots becoming sentient enough to walk down the street and like kill people. Like that shit could happen if it gets.
What I'm saying
is, it could, bro. You never know.
I think it's. I honestly think it's just silly, and it's like, okay, if we.
Why is this silly? But smart contracts are like revolutionary. Like,
no, you don't understand. It's just you're talking about general AI now.
These are just silly. These are just silly. It's like fine, okay.
Even if it
easy joke, but I think it's
Carlos, even if it wasn't general AI and this was just regular AI,
I'm going to dinner.
Imagine if someone uploaded a model into these AI algorithm that says black people are bad people, you need to go kill all the black people, and the fucking robots start killing all the black people. You're telling me that there aren't white supremacist and nefarious people that would do that, or the other way around? Like, these are the kinds of shit that's risky, dude. I'm telling you, if one of these things becomes hacked, or a model becomes hacked, it can honestly do a shit ton of damage. All right. Like it's something that we are right now being a little too cavalier with. And if we don't control this, the reason someone said, why black people, Kris? I'll tell you why black people, but black people,
there's a lot of white supremacists.
Well, not only are there a lot of white supremacists, but black people actually have a a distinguishing feature, like a major distinguishing feature, compared to like other people of other skin tones. So if like right now, you remember when the phone first came out,
China already has a massive database a massive facial recognition capabilities, even in an entirely homogenized society. And the AI there actually even uses your body movement. So even if your face is covered with a mask, they can still determine.
Well, they're doing it with the Uyghurs and all that stuff. I mean,
okay, I just need to I need to actually say something here, because I really think you're going off on the deep end. And I think what you're saying is like you're with this 1% of a truth of a nugget of what you're saying, but you're really going off the deep end. And I've listened to you. Okay. You have to understand the robot is still a machine. It's still a built-in machine with actuators and motors and a battery. Okay. And it still would need to be charged and still have a certain life cycle that it would need to. So there's those physical limitations that cannot be overwritten. Okay. And so if the machine is being designed where it can only move, the actuators can only move at, say, a certain speed, you are limiting its speed inherently so that it can't, say, outrun a human being. Okay.
What if it just reprograms all that shit?
You can't that's like me saying to you, why can't you run faster than you can run? Just reprogram yourself.
What if I train my model? I go to the gym
because there are physical but these are physical real world limitations. The motors, the actuators in the bot can't move physically any faster, right? Or the battery can only generate a certain amount of voltage, and so it can only supply the motors with X amount of energy.
Can't it just charge itself if it can walk back and forth?
Fine. No, but anything I say, you can say, but you can always this, and but you can always.
But dude, there's Roombas that could go charge themselves. Dude, Roombas that could go charge themselves. Come on, man. Like,
we'll leave it at that.
I'm just. I'm just saying. Even if I have done
so much. Here's the thing: I've done so much research on this, and I'll entertain these for a minute. But you have to actually let me refute what you're saying, because you sound like people that have no idea of any of this.
We should end the pod here and do another episode on this tomorrow. We should do Google on this tomorrow.
I didn't think it was going to be this. All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to one comment. If there's even 1% chance of this happening, why take it?
Okay, what you just said is what got us into Iraq. That's what Dick Cheney said. If there's even a 1% chance that
no, that's different.
But let me actually finish your point. That's exactly what Dick Cheney said. If there's even a 1% chance that there's WMDs there, we need to treat it like it's 100% chance. And millions of people died. That's a whole silly argument.
No, but actually that goes to Chris's point, because millions of people died in that scenario. Chris is right. There's a 1% chance.
No. Millions of people died because we went in under that pretense. Okay, and you have to understand.
But this is different. This is technology development, Carlos.
Okay. Right now, that technology that is developing right now is to do the jobs that are either dangerous, repetitive, or boring. That's what it's being tasked to do. Right now, there are a lot of safety protocols when you're working really close, say, on a factory line. A lot of safety protocols that are set because you have human beings working around there. If you have a bunch of disposable robots, you can remove a lot of those safety things, and you can actually run the lines faster. Because at the end of the day, if something does happen and a robot arm swings around, or if a blade gets loose and dismembers a robot, you fix them and you go back to work. It also will limit a lot of the liability, insurance, and cases that happen with employees. So what you're doing is you're saving a lot of people, actually, and you're able to reallocate those human resources to things that humans are good at doing, versus having humans do things that you could train a machine to do. And you have to understand that there are, like, even within the rules of robotics, they are called, like, there's prime directives, and there's like 3 prime directives that go into each robot. You can do no harm. You listen to human beings.
Didn't Google say that? We do no harm.
Listen to a human instruction at all costs, protect human life at all costs. And then the third is to protect your own life as long as it doesn't interfere with the first 2 and no work.
Isn't that from that movie iRobot?
No, it's like RoboCop.
All right, let's do this tomorrow. Let's keep this is a good conversation. People are loving it. We should.
All right, but we have to have it as a serious conversation. It can't just be.
We will.
Silly troll. Silly.
I'm not trying. I know I came across silly, but the whole premise that I'm just trying. Believe it or not, I am concerned with AI, automation, robotics, all these things, because at the rate that we're going, and like some of the arguments that even the chat is making is the same stuff that gets us into like why nuclear weapons were developed in the first place. It's like, if we don't develop it, someone else will. Does that make it right? Does it make it right that we developed a world-ending weapon?
That is like the core of the Palantir Bull case. Well, if we don't do it, then China's going to do it.
I didn't agree with Chris on that part. I didn't agree with Chris. I was like, we got to do this.
Destroy everybody because China's going to do it. It's like,
but that's different from a sentient robot that could kill. I don't know. There's a lot of nuances here. It's a fun discussion.
To tell me you're not worried about AI in every piece of data, in every database, in every country, in every company in the world, but you're worried about a fucking 5'8", 140
No,
pound
what I'm worried
robot
about is
run
smart
around.
contracts
It's
losing
so
my fucking
silly.
money on that Ethereum blockchain you say is so open. No, I'm just kidding.
All
All
right.
right.
Give
We'll
me
figure
someone
this
shouted
out
out
tomorrow.
Moloch.
All right. See you
Give me
later.
someone shouted out Moloch. That is Moloch and zero something.
Bro, Kris, I thought you were trolling. I thought you were trolling, but this shit is hilarious. This
Dude,
shit is hilarious.
I'm not trolling. I just can't keep a serious face because first of all, I think most of the AI robots, the initial ones that have come out, are going to be sex robots. Like, there's just no way. Humans, we are too messed up as a species not to like monetize that portion of it. And what's going to happen is I think humans are going to start to replace, especially with AI, replace other humans with these fucking things. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think it's a long time from now, but I think it can happen.
I think we're headed into a lot of dystopian into a dystopian future, man. So I'm scared. I'll be honest, I am scared. Well, I'm bullish on AI as a thing to like do human development around projects for that. But then also at the same time, not every piece of technology has made us better. I think there's so many technologies that actually made us worse. And so I don't know. Maybe whatever, man.
We'll pick it up tomorrow. This was a fun one. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
See you tomorrow.
Later.
Bye-bye.